Now, the next people that I get to introduce, and I'm really proud to do this, are Mara and Jack Roberts. If it wasn't for Mara and Jack doing all the phone duty on this, we probably wouldn't be here today. Mara came to this country as an immigrant with her parents after escaping from both Nazi fascism and communism. If anyone here knows about what can happen when a country becomes too immoral, too lax, it's Mara and Jack. Both of them have a passion for liberty and freedom, and they work tirelessly at promoting both. They are the founders of Liberty Action Group, and they meet in Pueblo West at the library. They also founded Freedom Talk Netcast. That's right there. And because it's your right, go to Freedom Talk Netcast and follow what's going on in this country. It is an interview-based, an internet-based interview show. I get those things tied up. And it gets patriots involved. So with that, I introduce to you Mara Roberts and Jack, her husband, on the camera.
I'm too short.
Bring that down for her. Mark.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out and helping us commemorate this important date in our nation's history. And I wanted to mention that on this day in 1775, that's better, the weather was fair with strong winds and a temperature of around 46 degrees. So we're very lucky today. I want to give a little bit of a background because I know a lot of people, we've all studied this, but we may have forgotten what happened around this time. What is important about April 19th? This is the day that a people who believed in self-governance, freedom from tyranny, and the God-given rights of man stood against an oppressive government and said, no more. The colonists had suffered a long train of abuses from a king who considered them nothing more than serfs or peasants. Great Britain was hurting financially after the French and Indian Wars, and looking to fill the coffers turned to overtaxing the colonies. A demonstration against these taxes took place on March 5th, 1770, that resulted in the British regulars firing, leaving 3 colonists dead and 2 mortally wounded. The Crown was undeterred and continued levying higher and higher taxes. Again, the colonists demonstrated this time, throwing the tax tea from the ships docked in Boston Harbor. This became known as the Boston Tea Party. To punish the colonies, specifically Massachusetts, Parliament passed the Coercive Acts in March of 1774. These acts closed Boston Harbor, forbid self-governments, and allowed for trial of royal troops to be held in Britain instead of in the colonies, and allowed for quartering of troops in private properties. Colonists saw these intolerable acts, as they called them, as a violation of their natural rights and of their colonial charter. It incensed them further. They formed the First Continental Congress, and all the colonies pledged support to Massachusetts should they be attacked. Throughout the winter of 74-75, Massachusetts prepared for conflict with the production of arms and munitions, the training of militias, and organizing defenses. In April of 1775, military governor of Massachusetts, General Gage, sent a force to Lexington and Concord to confiscate these supplies and to arrest Samuel Adams and John Hancock, who were reported to be hiding in Lexington. Word spread. The Patriots set up a messaging system to alert the countryside of any advance of British troops. Paul Revere arranged for a signal to be sent by lanterns in the steeple of North Church, 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. On the night of April 18th, the signal was lit and Paul Revere, William Dawes, and other riders cried the alarm. Church bells, beating of drums, and gunshots called the militias to action. It was near midnight when Paul Revere galloped up to the door of Pastor Jonas Clark, where the Patriots were staying. He then rode on to alert Concord. The alarm was sounded. It was a cold night after the rains from the previous day, and Captain Parker told his men to find shelter around the common. Most went to Buckman's Tavern. Just before dawn, one of the lookouts made it back to Lexington and warned that a column of redcoats of over 700 men were no more than 1/2 mile from town. Captain Parker ordered the call to arms, and only about 77 men had time to arrive before the British burst upon them. British Major John Pitcairn ordered the Lexington men to drop their weapons and retreat. Captain Parker ordered his men to disband as they were hopelessly outnumbered. But a shot rang out, and even though Major Pitcairn called for a ceasefire, 8 Lexington men were killed and 9 injured, many shot in the back. Their names are Robert Monroe, Jonas Parker, Samuel Hadley, Jonathan Harrington Jr., Caleb Harrington, Isaac Muzzy, John Brown, and Mr. Porter of Woburn. The regulars proceeded on to Concord, 20 miles northwest of Boston, where they searched for the supplies and destroyed what the colonists had not already moved. At Northbridge, hundreds of militiamen met them and routed the British back to Boston. They reached Boston by nightfall, losing 273 men along the way. The colonists lost 95. The battle against tyranny continues today. Let us always remember and never forget the sacrifices for liberty and freedom that people have made and are continuing to make for all of us today. And I thank you again for being here.